You're watching the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive, hosted by Kevin Britton, right here on Stadium Drive Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive. I am your host, Kevin Britton, bringing you all of your Chiefs content here on Stadium Drive Sports every Sunday, every Wednesday. Make sure you guys tune in. Also, check out the Combo Show with me and Sean, who hosts the Royal Way. You can catch the Combo Show every Friday, as well as the Combo Show live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you guys tune in so we can interact with you guys live, respond to your comments, answer your questions, get to know you, let you know about us, and really just experience this sport together and root for our Kansas City Chiefs as one. So let's go ahead and hop right into today's show. So last episode, we talked about the Chiefs defense currently and what the overhaul that could be coming is for this roster. Today, we're going to flip over. We're going to look at the other side of the ball and take a look at what the offensive side looks like versus what it could look like after the new league year starts on March the 16th. So let's go ahead and take a look at this past year's starting lineup and then some of our key rotational players that we have as well. Obviously, we have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. I know there's the talks going around in the national media about Pat Mahomes not being a top 5 quarterback. I am not entertaining that. No, thank you. Don't need the clickbait. You guys, if that's really your opinion, you are sadly mistaken. Running back, well, we could have that discussion at running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is our starter. We have our wide receivers as Tyreek Hill. I have it listed with Byron Pringle at the 2 and Hardman at the 3. Now, I think those two individuals are very interchangeable, just kind of depending on what we're running at that point. Now, I don't think either one of them is actually a number 2, though. I think that it's much more of they are a split between the number 3 and number 4 on this roster, which obviously leaves a hole to fill regardless of who's leaving in free agency. Travis Kelce at tight end, obviously, and then our starting offensive line, if everyone is healthy, we're looking at Orlando Brown Jr., Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey. Great draft pick, by the way. Good job, Veach. Creed is an absolute stud, just like the guy next to him, who was the steal of the draft last year with Trey Smith. Those two rookies on the inside, that is a special and bright future. And then obviously with Joe Thuney there on the inside, kind of helping those guys come along. They came along very quickly and both looked like absolute studs. And then the one question mark on the offensive line, Lucas Niang. I think Niang's solid. Obviously the injury, we weren't really able to confirm that all the way through. We had a lot of moving parts at the right tackle position, but if healthy, Niang is our starter moving forward. I think there is a chance that we could look to upgrade the position or have a safety net to fall back on if Niang doesn't pan out or if injuries end up being something that's consistent for him. Now, some of our rotational or situational kind of depth pieces that we have at receiver, we have Demarcus Robinson and Marcus Kemp. Now, Kemp doesn't really get used much as a receiving option, but tremendous in special teams. So definitely still wanted to make sure we called him out on this roster here because he definitely provides something that is very important to a football team. You have to be good in all 3 phases, and he definitely does his part contributing to that special teams phase. Backup running backs, we have Darrell Williams and Jerick McKinnon. Side note, shout out, Derek Gore got some playing time as well. I think he's still a little bit of a developmental type player, but he definitely showed well with the opportunities that he did get. And Jerick McKinnon was a breath of fresh air, being able to bring somebody in that had a little bit of a giddy up, if you will. He's got a little speed beyond what the other guys have. So it was a nice change of pace when McKinnon got his shot later in the season. Mike Burton at fullback. The tight end room is filled out by Blake Bell, Noah Gray, and Jody Fortson. Definitely unfortunate for the injury that happened to Fortson, because I think he was on his way to an absolute breakout season. But I do expect that he will be back and ready to go by next year, so we can hopefully pick up where he left off. And then our offensive line depth, which at the right tackle position kind of got put to the test this year, with Mike Rimmers getting some reps, Andrew Wiley getting some reps as well. And then it's rounded out with Nick Allen-Gretty and Austin Blythe. Now, the Blythe thing, I'll be honest, kind of threw me off when we signed Austin Blythe. If you remember, that was pre-draft. He came over, we signed him from the Rams. So my assumption was, oh, this is our center. So I was not looking at Creed Humphrey as being a potential option, because I thought we were going to settle with, no disrespect to Blythe, but an average center and not look to push that to the next level. So again, Veach, shout out, man. Doing a good job so far. I'm impressed. But that kind of rounds out the offensive starters that we had this past year. Now, before we look into what's going to happen when we have our pending free agents potentially leave, any possible roster cuts that we may see, before we jump into that, I want to take a second for some quick Chiefs trivia. All right, guys, so now let's take a look and see what we could be looking at with this roster as of March 16th, when our pending free agents are let loose. So hopping right in, you can see quickly, not a lot of change in our starting lineup. Now, Byron Pringle is a free agent, which opens up a wide receiver spot. And I think really it all pushes backwards. As I mentioned before, I think McCole Hardman and Byron Pringle are kind of a mix of a 3-4. I do think that we bring Byron Pringle back. I don't think it's going to be an expensive deal. I think he may have interest from other teams, but nothing that's big money. Him being a K-State guy makes him a little more local, and I think if our offer compares very reasonably to other teams' offers, I do think that it's enticing for him to stay in Kansas City, obviously play with Pat Mahomes. They were definitely building up that chemistry throughout this year. But that number 2 spot, I think, is still a spot that we need to fill. And we can let Hardman and Pringle play that number 3 and number 4 role. Now, you'll see the asterisk there next to Orlando Brown Jr. His contract is up, but I found no point in really taking him off of the roster completely, because you trade a first-round pick for a guy, you don't keep him for 1 year and let him walk unless he is an utter disappointment, which he was definitely not. I think Orlando Brown, this was his first year playing left tackle all season long. So I think in his first full year at left tackle, he started reasonably, but he progressed throughout the year nonstop and just kept getting better at the position. And I think he was able to really communicate with Mahomes on and off the field to really understand how he can maneuver things that's going to benefit Mahomes and how Mahomes is going to move versus how Orlando Brown will move. I feel like their chemistry, you don't talk a lot about offensive linemen's chemistry with the quarterback, but I think their chemistry came along and it really made a difference. So I think Orlando Brown is back. I think we try to re-sign him. I think the odds are, though, that he ends up under a franchise tag. We still try to continue to re-sign him at that point and have him here long term, but I just don't see any way that we let him walk away at this point. Rest of the offensive line, completely intact. I talked about Niang and how we could potentially look to upgrade or have a safety net, and a safety net would definitely be needed. As you can see right now, if we look at some of our rotational guys, it's wiped pretty clean. All of our other receivers, other than Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman, are free agents. Again, I think we bring back Pringle. All of our running backs, other than Clyde, free agents. Now, I think that we will offer and retain either Darrell or McKinnon. I think it's going to be Darrell. I think this team is built and our coaching staff builds this team based on who they trust, and I think there's a lot of trust in Darrell Williams. So I do think Darrell Williams is back as our number 2. And the number 3, we could look at, a low-cost free agent or a day 3 draft pick. I do think that third guy will be somebody with some speed to bring to the table what we would be losing by letting McKinnon go. Fullback, Mike Burton's a free agent. He was a 1-year deal. If we want to continue with a fullback on this roster, I think we simply bring back Burton. Never a guarantee that we continue with the fullback. It's kind of a dying position in the NFL, but I like Burton. I like what he brings. You come in, play fullback, give us some blocks a few times, get those short yardage. I mean, he's a machine on 3rd and 1. So I think we can bring him back. The tight end room, we got Noah Gray. I do think Jody Fortson's back, though. But we do lose Blake Bell, who I think is by far our best blocking tight end. So I think free agency is the way to go. Again, low cost, because we are very, very heavy at the top of the roster with the salary cap. So got to save money where we can. I think a low cost blocking tight end is something we can bring in pretty easily. And who knows, that could even be Blake Bell. Now the offensive line, the depth is basically going away, right? So really the only notable guy that's still under contract is Nick Allegretti, who I like that we have Allegretti because he's that inside guy that can play multiple positions. We did see him this year come in and play a little bit of left guard when Orlando Brown was out. We slid Tooney out to the outside. Allegretti came in and played guard. Played guard the year before as well. We were obviously decimated by injury that year. And I think Allegretti showed that he's capable of being able to fill in for you when you need him. He also can play the right guard spot, and he can play center. So having him just allows a little more flexibility with the offensive line. And, maybe we, again, late round, 7th round, if Veach hangs on to his 7th round picks, we have 3 of them. So if he hangs on to one of them, maybe we could use that for an interior offensive lineman, add some depth, and somebody that we can look to develop because we have Allegretti who can fill so many roles for us on the inside. Now, none of our tackles outside of our starters are under contract or coming back on franchise tag for Orlando Brown, as I mentioned. Now, I do think there's a good chance that Wiley could be re-signed. I think he showed that he is capable of playing the right tackle spot when we need him to. I think there's no way you're comfortable playing him on the left side, though. So if anything were to happen to Orlando Brown, I think we do exactly what we did last year for that one game when he got hurt. And I think we slide Tooney out, we bring Allegretti in, and just kind of call it a wrap at that point. So the tackle position, although we may not need a starter if Niang's ready to go, we definitely need depth at the position. So I think that's a spot that we 100% absolutely have to look. I think free agency, we're going to look for some inexpensive veterans. I think late in the draft, we could be looking to add some depth on the tackle spot as well. But overall, we're not losing a ton of our top-end talent on the offensive side. I mean, really none of our top-end talent, for that matter. It's pretty much all just kind of the backup role guys. And I'm down to let majority of them walk, right? The offensive line, I think if you can bring back a guy or two from the offensive line, I'm down with that. Keep the depth. Keep people that already, through practice and everything, have a little bit of chemistry going on already. They already know the call-outs. They're familiar with Creed Humphrey after his rookie year, which, way to be, Creed. Out there calling the offense, calling the blocking schemes, making the adjustments as a rookie is a big deal. So Creed had an amazing year. Now, we could be looking at a shift in the approach that we take as an offense. We've always been the home run threat offense. Everybody knows it. We saw this year. Everybody played us as such, took that away as much as they could. Mahomes had some struggles. I think it was the offensive play calling or the schemes per se that I think struggled as well. The adjustments I think weren't there, which didn't make Mahomes look any better. So I don't put it all on Mahomes. I think the coaching staff definitely played a role in some of our slower times during this season. But I do think there could be some shifts in our approach coming, and we're going to talk about that right after this.
Welcome, Royals Empire. You now have an informative, interactive show made right here in Kansas City and made just for the Royals fans. Hosted by me, Sean Barr. Let me take you down the Royal way as you indulge yourself with some great Royals coverage along with coverage around the league. Plus a variety of fun segments. Might even learn a thing or two, even for the avid fan. Come join me. This is the Royal Way, only here on Stadium Drive Sports.
All right, guys. So a shift in the approach of the offense. Definitely something that we could be seeing coming. I think there's a couple different things that are going to happen or that could potentially happen that's going to cause that change to kind of come to fruition. One thing is Eric Bieniemy. So Bieniemy obviously not being under contract right now. We don't know if he's going to be back as offensive coordinator. If I had to bet any money on it, I think he will not be back. Now, I think that our offense is good with him, but I also think that both sides could use something new. I think that the Chiefs could use just a little new life breathed into it a little bit, and I think Eric Bieniemy would benefit by going to another team, being an offensive coordinator somewhere else, because if he can go somewhere else and be able to be successful as well, it's really gonna help him out with head coaching positions in the future. I'm not going to get into the whole political aspect of why Bieniemy may not be getting coaching jobs. We all know what that reason is, but I think there are things he can do within his control that will still help him kind of have a strong case for a head coaching spot. So I do think it would make sense for Eric Bieniemy to move on and go somewhere else to be an offensive coordinator. Now, bringing in a new coordinator, obviously that's going to bring in some changes. Even though Andy Reid is very involved with everything offense on the Chiefs, anybody coming in as an offensive coordinator is going to have their say-so as well. So I'm going to let you guys know what I would like to see happen. Now, not necessarily who I want to see come in, but what I want to see. I want us to see us bring somebody in that has a little innovation in regards to the running game. Obviously, we all know Andy Reid is not big on utilizing the run game as much as maybe he should. And I don't think we're going to become some run-heavy team or anything like that. I think our percentage of pass to run will stay virtually the same. But I want somebody that can be a little more innovative with the running game and be able to get a little more pop and a little more spark out of that when Andy Reid does allow the running backs to kind of become a focal point on a drive or maybe for a quarter, whenever it may be, but also using them out of the backfield in unique ways. I think that that's something that could really help us kind of shift the way that we approach games. And that number 2 receiver position, I think that this is something that I'm looking at very closely, because I think based on what we do there is really going to show a lot for what we're going to do moving forward. If we bring in a 6 foot or under speedy wide receiver, he just kind of fits the mold of what we've had, and I think everything just kind of stays the same, stays the course. We do what we've been doing, but I also think there's that chance that we bring in a more bigger body receiver. I do think it's somebody that can still get separation, somebody that still has speed, but is really much stronger at the catch point. So I think if we look at what we could possibly do, there's some free agents out there that make a lot of sense. Just to give you a couple of quick names, Mike Williams from the Chargers, potential free agent, and he really fits the mold of a bigger receiver that can still get separation and has that speed. Also, Michael Gallup out of Dallas, pending free agent, kind of provides that same thing. And I think that that's something that could help transform this offense into something a little newer. We're still going to have Tyreek. We're still going to have Travis. They're going to be our top 2 options. But getting a third option that adds a new dynamic to the offense, I think, would be huge for this team. I hear a lot of people talking very kind of generically about the Chiefs need a third weapon. Yeah, we need a third weapon, but I think we need a third weapon that's bringing something new to the table, not a third weapon that brings what we already have. So I definitely want to see that happen. Now, I don't think we should go draft with that. I think in the first round, I think there will be wide receivers there at pick 30 that would make sense from a talent standpoint to be able to come in and fit that mold for us. But I'm not going to overlook the Patrick Mahomes trust factor. Would Patrick Mahomes have enough trust or be able to build enough trust within the first half of the year with a rookie receiver and trust them in some of the big moments? And if he doesn't have that trust with you, we've seen it time and time again. If he doesn't have that trust built up, you're just really not going to get the targets. Therefore, if you're not getting targets, the defense isn't keying on you, we're not doing anything that's going to help free up Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce like we want to do. So I think we need to be looking in the free agency, potentially trade, but I think free agency just makes a lot more sense. There's nobody that I know of on the trade block that really warrants it. I've heard talk about Amari Cooper, but I think Amari Cooper being, first round, maybe first round plus for trade compensation just doesn't really match up to what I want to do. That and the money's pretty large as well. I think we could look at a Mike Williams. We could look at even a Juju, which we were obviously linked to last year. We're going to be linked to again this year. I think Juju kind of fits the mold of something a little different. And obviously, as I mentioned, Michael Gallup as well as options. So let me know what you guys think. I want to pose a question. So question to the kingdom here today. Leave a comment down below and let me know. Do you want the Chiefs to draft a wide receiver or sign a wide receiver? Also throw a name in. Let me know who you're interested in. Is there a certain free agent you want or a certain draft prospect that you'd like to see us draft? Leave a comment down below. Let me know what your answer is. Chiefs Kingdom, I appreciate it. Now, that's all the time we have for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive. Again, my name's Kevin Britton. You can catch all of my Chiefs content every Sunday, every Wednesday, right here on Stadium Drive Sports. You can also catch the Combo Show with myself and Sean talking Chiefs and Royals all in one sitting every Friday, as well as the Combo Show live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in to the 12th Man at Arrowhead Drive. Until next time.